How's your day going?
It's been pretty wild. You know, as I've been telling everybody, this is the second blacksmith event that proper event that I've ever been to in my life. You know, Quad State was 2 weeks ago. And you know, that's, you know, miles and miles away. But here we are in FABA, you know, in Florida, where the guy that taught me, Jay's always been. So, you know, it's almost a little eerie that a chance I get to kind of follow behind him on that end of it. And that's on top of, I mean, what a great event. I mean, the guys did an incredible job putting this thing together. I mean, it's a good event. Everybody's been fighting COVID and everything, but the auction was great. So it's been a lot to process, to be honest with you. So it's been awesome. We've had good crowds. I've gotten a chance to shake hands with legends on that end of it. So it's a lot to process.
How about a few tips on your braided handle and some of those?
Sure. So, you know, the braided handle is, when we get into doing the artwork of this stuff, after you've done so much of the craft, it's that little kitschy thing, that little cool extra thing that's rarer that really starts selling the stuff. So when you get into that braided handle, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to come down and demonstrate it is because even amongst blacksmith, the use of the oxyacetylene torch is really waning. It's something that was big in the 70s, of course, because you didn't have your MIG welders or your TIG welders that were useful. And when you use the oxyacetylene torch, it actually allows you to make braids in a way you can't with the forge because the heat is so controlled. So, you know, one of the things when you're making those handles or you're doing that work in general, if you have the opportunity, one of the tools you need to add to the shop is the oxyacetylene torch. It is an artist tool, and the braided handle is just one particular piece that comes out of that. So, you know, one, you have to have it to make that handle, but if you ever have the opportunity to start using it as an artist brush, it's a really cool piece.
Okay. And how did you ever get interested in blacksmithing?
I got interested in blacksmithing when I was 7 years old. Our public schools in Calhoun County were not the best funded in the world, but we had diesel. Diesel was cheap, and we had buses. So they would ship us off to every field trip they possibly could. And we happened to take one to Andersonville, Georgia, where Jay Riekert, the guy that would eventually teach me, was the demonstrator. All yours, sir. And this little guy comes running out, you know, from the side of this little building, and there's this little fire smoking there. And he reaches in and he pulls out a half-inch bar of iron and holds it up in front of all his kids. And the center of it is glowing white. Steel is hissing, you know, and for a 7-year-old that's never seen anything like this, it's like, you know, what devilry is this? And he says, "Superman, eat your heart out," and he bends it in half. The man just with his bare, and he's making sure that he's doing it with his bare hands, and he bends it in half. And I mean, that was kind of it for me. You know, 11, 12 years later, I'm in college at Georgia Southwestern, and I realized that this same guy is about 15 minutes from me. So I go meet him, and I started working with him, and that was the whole story. Jay Riekert became a huge part of my world. I mean, I think life-changing is a fair assessment. And I worked with Jay until he passed away in 2003. So not many people get to have the pedigree of having trained under the old drunken master. That was Jay.
Terrific. And what do you see you doing in the future? What's on the plan?
You know, isn't that the eternal question? You know, what's the future for me on that end of it? You know, I've been talking this morning about even when I had to take a break and go back to real life, you know, I viewed my employment as a temporary contract that was financing my shop. I mean, that was really the perspective, because, you know, even when I was an executive director for Habitat for Humanity, you know, I'm making good money, but I know I'll be going back to the shop. Now I'm like going, well, we're making this money this week. We're going to put this money in this account because this is going to be the new hydraulic press. So my mind never left it. And I sometimes wonder, I've had a lot of people ask, if I want to get into this and do it professionally, what's your advice? And I can say with a straight face, don't. Because the number of things that you need to do it well are staggering. I don't have them. It's just that I've got a mental issue that I love this stuff so much, and so, as far as business advice on that end of it, you just don't. It's insanely difficult. But I give myself the illusion that at some point I had a choice in the matter. I don't think I did. So whether I'm successful at the business or not, I feel like that no matter what goes down, even if I have to stop and take a real job, I'm simply planning that's simply a mild detour to get back to what I do, whether I'm successful, But I don't want to die under the bridge. I would like to die like Scrooge McDuck, surrounded by my stacks of cash and incredible artwork from my peers and people I care about. And I'm still trying to crack the code on how to make that latter version happen. The bridge thing, that's just easy. That's called life. So I hope that with the particular skills I brought together, I can start taking some of this video. This right here is the way forward. Period. There is nothing more important than this right here. Okay. Samuel Yellen was nicknamed the Velvet Hand Grenade. That's somebody I want to meet, right? We have examples of his work, and we can appreciate his work, like you can appreciate my braided handle. But that doesn't tell you anything about me. We started Abana and everything else because we wanted to protect what we were losing. We were terrified that all these great masters and their work was going away, and we were right. And the thing is we still have that sentiment, but we have immortality in our pockets, but we're not using it. We are still saying, we're losing all this stuff. How do we save it? Jesus Christ, it's right here. So I figured that out, and that's why a dude from the middle of nowhere, have this undue influence on the pulse of our new generation of blacksmiths. I shouldn't. It should be the Mark Asperries. It should be the Kirk Sullivans. It should be the Tony Swattons that have that influence and that people know who they are. That's not the case, because this is the medium. And very much like somebody demanding that they're going to always do their blacksmith work with a hand hammer because it's the old way, they're going away. It's the guy that got the power hammer that makes it. This is the new power hammer. And it's going to be adapt or die. So I hope that I can bring what I've learned there to the rest of my brotherhood on that end and make them see how important it is, because this is immortality.
Well, thanks for teaching us. Wish you a lot of success.
Thank you, sir.
All right.